At this point, Donald Trump and his spokesperson can't make their utter disdain for migrants any more clear. Here is Karoline Leavitt talking to journalists who are asking about reports of human rights abuses happening at Guantanamo Bay.
I wanted to get your response to some Washington Post reporting of the migrants who stayed over at Guantanamo Bay for the last 2 weeks. They told the Post they were rarely let outside. They were shackled and placed in what they described as cages and alleged that they were not treated as human beings. Does the White House have any response to those conditions?
At Guantanamo Bay? It's a promise the president campaigned on, that if you invade our nation's borders, if you break our country's laws, and if then you further commit heinous, brutal crimes in the interior of our country, like raping and murdering innocent, law-abiding women and girls, and committing heinous acts of violence, then you are going to be deported from this country, and you may be held at Guantanamo Bay. These are criminals we are talking about. Don't forget that.
No, that's not who we're talking about. And I will never stop taking the opportunity to remind you. We know the specific people that are making these claims that are in that Washington Post. No, the crime that they committed was that they crossed the border. That's the crime. They were actually taken very soon after crossing the border. They hadn't been here for 10 years committing crimes and all that. That's literally the people that we're talking about here have not murdered anyone. They have not raped anyone. We cannot be any clearer about that. The myth that this is about violent murders, rapists, and cannibals, so who the hell cares what happens to them in Guantanamo Bay, is simply not true. We're talking about people who don't even, I like to focus on the fact that they said that they would send people accused of shoplifting to Guantanamo Bay. These people haven't even been accused of shoplifting. All they did was commit the civil violation of crossing the border without documentation. That is the only thing that they have been accused of, and they are being caged in Guantanamo Bay, where the world's most notorious accused terrorists used to be held. And so Karoline Leavitt obviously wants to change the subject, because I think that if the American people, not all the American people, not nearly enough of the American people, but some of the American people, if they know, when they know what's happening there, they are going to be horrified by this. And so that's why she's going to continue to lie, okay? It is a bait and switch to say this is about murderers. Tom Homan is going on Fox News saying we can't find the murderers. That's why our numbers aren't high enough. There just aren't those criminals. They're just shipping anyone they can find. School children, women selling empanadas, people who literally have not committed any crime since they crossed the border are rotting in Guantanamo Bay. And that is what Karoline Leavitt is defending. And by the way, I will give her credit for one thing, Sharon. She said this is a promise that Donald Trump has made. Now, no, he didn't say that he was going to open up a concentration camp at Guantanamo Bay, but he did promise a bloody endeavor. He did effectively promise that we are going to utterly devastate and ignore the human rights, all that stuff, all to migrants. And so I guess to that extent, yes, he is doing what he promised to do, Sharon.
Yeah, and it's not just about we don't have the resources and we want people to do it the right way and come legally. He wants to inflict pain. That's what Guantanamo Bay is all about. I mean, the army, the people there, Hegseth, they took a tour the other day. They don't even have it set up in a way that is appropriate for humans to inhabit. They don't have enough. They don't have things going in a way that is appropriate and meets a basic minimum standard of ICE. He wants to inflict pain. His latest is talking about now taking unaccompanied minors and doing away with them. That could happen this week, John. I know it's Big News Wednesday, but he's making sure everything is rapid fire so you can't wrap your head around it. You can't put up a defense. He's taking away the money for them to have their lawyers and just due process. He wants to inflict pain. And she's just going through the talking points. I think it speaks for itself. You know, she's saying dumb things like that. Well, you saw it, I saw it, speaks for itself. It's just, it's sick, it's un-American, even with our sordid history. It's at least not what we were supposedly founded upon.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely gross. And again, is there 20, 25, 30% of the country that would utterly get off on the idea that migrants who haven't even committed any crimes are being abused? Yeah, I 100% think that there are. Certainly Donald Trump and Karoline Leavitt believe that there are. They think that of their base. And is there another 20, 30% who wouldn't really care one way or the other? Yeah, unfortunately, probably not. But I do think that there are a lot of Americans that are going to be horrified, rightly horrified by this, particularly as they hear the details. So I'm gonna reference a little bit from that Washington Post article. And so again, these people had not been, I'm jumping ahead to graphic 3. I apologize to the TD. I need to jump around a little bit for time, but they had not been accused of crimes. And I will remind, again, crossing the border without documentation is not a crime. Google it. Google it. It is a civil violation. I know what you think. No, but it has to be against the law, right? No, like not having your insurance papers isn't a felony. There are all sorts of things that are not crimes. You have to do them, you have to comply with them, but it is not a crime. That is one of the reasons why calling them illegals has always been both propagandistic and also inaccurate. It is a civil violation. And so they were brought in, they were given 3 items. A blanket and sleeping pad, yes, but also a Bible. Well, that's good. I mean, if you're only gonna be able to give them 3 things, one of them should definitely be a Bible. They're being put in windowless cells for days and nights as their mind begins to slip. Again, they've committed no crimes except not having their paperwork, and they're in effectively solitary confinement. One man could hear men screaming from other cells, pleading to be let out and threatening to kill themselves. "Get me out of here," he heard one scream again and again, "I'm going to kill myself." He eventually, Franier Montez, a 22-year-old, 13 days in, he considered taking his own life, but thoughts of his mother and child held him back. One man tried to hang himself with a sheet, but he couldn't tie it to the table because it was too small. Another man swallowed 10 screws and had to be taken to the emergency room because of that. And so all of that, that's what's going on, not to murderers, not to rapists, not even to thieves, not even to people who've committed assault. Just people who didn't have their paperwork are now being driven to the point where their minds are going and they're trying to kill themselves. That is what we've got on day 25 of the Trump administration. People who are effectively innocent in a very real moral sense are trying to take their own lives because of the horrors they're enduring in Guantanamo Bay under Donald Trump. That is a sentence I would have hoped I wouldn't have to say at this point, but that's the world that we're in right now. And more reporting like this will come out really fast. Any comments, Sharon?
Listen, you said more and more reporting is going to come out.
Hopefully.
Independent media is your only hope. And I'm not just selfishly saying that because I'm here on TYT with you today. Mainstream media is dead. It's corporate, it's taken over, it's scared. More and more reporting is only going to come from platforms like this one. That's where you're going to get your information. That's where you're going to be able to trust information. That's when you're going to be allowed to think, dish it back, expand the conversation. We are in a world of hurt right now. There is still a way out of it, but it's only going to be through courage and independent thinking.
Yeah, and the few remaining journalists doing good work, as much as we're going to be very harsh to the Washington Post tomorrow because of what Jeff Bezos is doing to it, there were some good journalists here who actually reached out to these people, and maybe they'll be investigated by Dan Bongino soon. I don't know. Maybe they'll be looked into by Kash Patel, but for now they're doing good work, and so I appreciate it. Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.